Hello, everyone. Today, I wanted to do my season preview for the 2022 season for the Seattle Kraken. And so, first, let's look at how they did last year. No, they didn't finish any spot in any division, as you would expect. But their record last year was really good. They actually went undefeated last year. They quietly had a really good season with a record of 0-0 for 0 points. Now, 0 points might seem bad, but they didn't have a single loss. I mean, that's pretty impressive. But all joking aside, though, um, this team actually looks like a pretty decent expansion team out of the gate, which is a little risky, honestly. Which sounds weird to say that them looking good is risky, because players that are already good have less of a chance of being a diamond in the rough, in my opinion. Like, there isn't really as much of that chance for that William Karlsson or that Jonathan Marchessault that Vegas got. Um, but I do see players that have chances to be those players. Um, so when we look at the lineup, the top line, I think is pretty solid. It's ideally a second line. And that's the way it is with most of these lines. I don't really think that they have any, oh my god, this line is far and away so good for a second or third line. Um, but I don't think that they have any lines that's like, oh my god, this is an awful first or fourth line either. Big question on the top line now. Yanni Gord is expected to be on the top line. However, he is currently injured and will be out for a month, maybe 2 months past the beginning of the season. And that will hurt them, absolutely. Probably would move a guy like a Wenberg or an Appleton into the top six for the time being. But then when he comes back, he didn't go to training camp. He didn't play with this team at all. And it's a brand new team where most of these players have never played with each other. The second line, the big thing there, Donskoy was phenomenal for Colorado. I think he's a great acquisition by them. McCann is an interesting one. He had what I would call a career year for him, and he needs to be able to repeat it this season and prove he can stay a top six forward for the Kraken. Third line, I'm very interested to see how Appleton does, but I will talk about him more later in the season. Tanev, I think his contract is a bit too much money, so it was a risky pick with him, but he does absolutely have talent and will be a great leader for this team. Was a pretty good pick from Pittsburgh, in my opinion. But that contract is a bit hefty, and if they are contenders right out of the gate, could give them some headaches later on. Fourth line, it's a young fourth line other than Colin Blackwell from the Rangers, who had a phenomenal season last year. But the question is the Blackwell that you're going to get, the Colin Blackwell that struggles to put up double-digit points every season and struggles to stay in a lineup spot? Or is it going to be the one from the Rangers that took a top six spot from Capo Caco? So it'll be very interesting to see what he does there. Moving on to the defense, top pairing of Dunn and Larson. I am a huge fan of Vince Dunn, and players like him and Schwartz being taken from St. Louis could lead to St. Louis having a huge collapse that people aren't expecting. And especially with that, plus Tarasenko probably going out soon, it'll be rough for them. But for Seattle, Dunn hasn't really shown he could be a top pairing guy yet. He has shown second pairing, I would say. But I think that the potential there for him to be a steal and for basically St. Louis to look at this and go, what the hell were we thinking letting him go, could absolutely happen here. Second pairing, Giordano and Alexiak. That is an older, big, heavy-hitting pairing. Giordano should be a great leader for this team. And if they decide to name a captain right out of the gate, it has to be Giordano. I don't see another option there. The only risk with him is he is on the older side, about 37 years old, I think. But he can still play hockey. I think he's only 2 years removed of winning the Norris Trophy. Um, and he does bring that leadership that you need to have a successful team. And then the bottom pairing, Susie and Fleury, both phenomenal players, I think, for the bottom pair at least. Hayden Fleury, I've always been a huge fan of, especially while he was in Carolina. And I feel he'll finally have a chance to actually play and not swapping in and out with Trevor Van Riemsdyk or Jake Gardner or something. And he'll finally really get a chance to show what he can do. The goaltending looks really good, but I do have my concerns with it. Philip Grubauer and Chris Driedger. I'm a fan of Driedger, and I thought that it was a good pick from Florida. Granted, I did think they should have picked someone else and just waited for free agency to pick Driedger, but getting him on the team either way is solid. Philip Grubauer, while I do admit he's a really good goalie coming off a Vezina finalist season, what can he do without that Colorado defense? Because when he was in Washington, he was a very good backup, but whenever he was given a chance to take the starter's role, he kind of flopped. And then it took a team with Devon Taves, Kel McCarr, and Ryan Graves, who are three of the best defensive defensemen in the NHL, for him to put up really good numbers. I think that it'll be solid. I think that this will more so be a 1A, 1B tandem than most people expect. But overall, this is just a very solid team. Like I said, on the defense, it's the same thing, though, unless if Dunn can break out and be a top pairing guy. They don't have that star defenseman that they're like, yes, this is our cornerstone that we're building around. Giordano, maybe, but at 37 years old, you really want to hope for him to have that much gas left in the tank? And now, with Yanni Gourde being out, there are questions with who will take his spot. And there are a couple players that they did pick up that absolutely deserve NHL spots, but sorry about that. But according to Cap Friendly, just don't have them. I look at Alex True, Cole Lind, and Marcus Johansson as the main ones. If I were to guess with this lineup, well, Gourde's hurt. They'll move McCann and Wenberg up, move Appleton to center, move Blackwell up, and then move Marcus Johansson to the fourth line wing. But Alex True, it's hard for me to see him being held out of the lineup. And on defense, though, you have Lauzon and Chalowski who are out of the lineup. And both of them, I feel like, are absolutely deserving of lineup spots. So I have to see another trade coming here, at least one more. I've heard rumors about Susie, so I could absolutely see that happening, and then they move Lauzon up. Or maybe they package Susie and Lauzon together for a top six forward to really solidify that top line. But not sure, it'll be interesting. Their subtractions, though, they're a new team, so they didn't lose anybody, really. They did trade Vanasek and Pitlick, but those aren't really losses because they didn't really have them for more than a month in the first place. And the key stat that I want to focus in on is Mason Appleton. So last season, in 56 games played, he had 12 goals, 13 assists for 25 points, which is a very solid season. It was about a point every other game. Year before that, in 46 games played, 5 goals, 3 assists for 8 points. Now, this might be looking like that I'm saying, well, he had a good year last year, but he hasn't been able to repeat that success. That's not what I'm saying here. Appleton is young, and I absolutely believe that this is just a sign of how much better he can get. He took that next step last year, and I think that he could take that next step this year. And I think that for the Kraken, he will be their William Karlsson for Vegas. And if by the end of the year Mason Appleton pushes into the top line spot, I would not be surprised. And he's still, even at that point, though, not that cornerstone piece, I don't think. It'll be very interesting to see. So, overall, where do I think that they'll end up in the standings? Um, they do have the advantage of the division being pretty weak, but if I were to guess, I would say that they could end up anywhere from, I'll go with from seventh in the Pacific to third, which there are a couple teams that I really can't see them being better than. Vegas isn't obvious. Vegas is number one in the division, and it will take a lot for them to pass them. And I feel like that they really can't compete to the level of McDavid or Draisaitl to pass them. And I do have a chance of them making third, but I really feel like LA is going to take that next step this year, and they won't be able to compete with them either. And I do feel like that this is an underrated division because teams like Calgary and Vancouver, they have a bounce back year, and immediately you have 5 teams that could possibly make the playoffs, and that's if you don't include the Kraken. And then there's 6. And that would only leave out Anaheim, who, with Zegras and Drysdale coming up, could really make an impact. On top of that, I feel like John Gibson is one of the, if not the best goaltender in the NHL, who could absolutely carry them. And then that just leaves out San Jose, which can't really say anything positive about them in the comparisons. But overall, though, this lineup just doesn't jump out at me as, yes, this is a playoff lineup. And unless if guys like Appleton and Bastian really go forward and prove themselves, I think that they could struggle out of the gate, but I think that's good for them. You need that little bit of struggle, especially for the fan base to be humbled. Because I have had that problem with Vegas fans online where they clearly don't know what it's like for their team to lose. And I feel like that would be good for a team. But this is a team that the way it's built, in 3 years, I could see them being a top team in the NHL. But I'm interested to see what you guys think. Let me know what your opinions are on this. And let me know what team I should do next. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.